93 of the war in Gaza, and the IDF is closing in on the Hamas leadership in and under Khan Yunis. After 3 months of warfare, the army says it had completed the dismantlement of Hamas in northern Gaza and is making steady progress in the center and the south. AlTV's Steve Leibovich has more.
IDF Chief of Staff Herzi Halevi and Shin Bet Security Chief Ronen Bar underlined the Army's progress in the war by touring the battlefront inside Khan Yunis in southern Gaza and entering parts of the captured tunnel network that the terrorists used until recent days. Halevi and Bar were joined by the heads of the Southern Command, the head of military intelligence, and the commander of the 98th Division. All of the top brass met securely in Khan Yunis to plan the liquidation of Hamas leader Yahya Sinwar and the other terrorist leaders hiding underground in the southern Gaza Strip. Halevi said the goal in Khan Yunis is to extend the impact on Hamas both above and below ground. The IDF chief emphasized the combination of the swift pace and adept handling of urban warfare, highlighting the importance of securing the area and exploring underground passages. On the eve of the 3-month mark of the Israel-Hamas war, the Israel Defense Forces said it's completed the dismantlement of Hamas's military framework in the northern Gaza Strip. The army says it's now focused on dismantling Hamas in central and southern Gaza. 8,000 terrorists have been killed since the start of the war.
הלחימה תימשך במהלך שנת 2024. אנחנו פועלים לפי תוכנית להשגת מטרות המלחמה. לפרק את חמאס במרכז ובדרום.
The IDF announced that the commander of the Hamas Nusirat battalion in central Gaza, Ismail Siraj, and his deputy were killed in an airstrike in the Strip. The terrorist battalion was responsible for the attacks on Kibbutz Be'eri on October 7th and the massacres that took place there and in other border communities. Meanwhile, the Defense Ministry has presented a 4-part proposal for post-war Gaza, featuring a global task force and civil affairs run by Palestinians and ongoing Israeli military control. The defense minister's plan has reportedly already been presented to the U.S. and discussed with other allies. It has 4 pillars for civil rule in post-war Gaza.
The escalation of cross-border exchanges between Israel and Hezbollah is continuing. Hezbollah lobbed dozens of rockets towards Israel without causing injury or significant damage, while the IDF struck terrorist command centers deep inside Lebanese territory. AlTV's Devo Klein has more.
The IDF carried out a widespread attack in southern Lebanon over the weekend and did not restrict attacks to border areas. In one case, the Air Force struck a Hezbollah command center some 30 kilometers north of the border. Fighter jets targeted 2 military facilities belonging to Hezbollah, described by the army as significant assets. One of them served as a ground-to-air missile unit for the terror group. The Air Force and artillery struck a series of Hezbollah targets in southern Lebanon. Targeted included terror infrastructures, a terrorist cell, a launch site, and an operational command post. The IDF strikes followed massive incoming rocket fire from Hezbollah. A salvo of more than 40 projectiles set off alarms in 90 Israeli communities. There were no injuries in strikes that mostly targeted the Mount Meron area. Hezbollah called the heavy rocket fire an initial response to the Israeli killing of Hamas terror chief Salah al-Aruri in Lebanon last week. Hezbollah claims to have fired over 60 rockets. Most were either shot down by air defense, fell harmlessly in open areas, or fell inside Lebanese territory. In another speech by Hezbollah chief Hassan Nasrallah, the Lebanese terrorist leader threatened that Israel's northern residents would be the first to pay the price if a full-scale war were to erupt along the front. Defense Minister Yoav Gallant says time is running out on diplomatic efforts to end tensions between Israel and Hezbollah, indicating that Israel will soon be left with no choice but to launch a major military offensive against the terror group in Lebanon. Israel's political and military leaders have said repeatedly since October 7th that Hezbollah will have to withdraw its forces from the border area to north of the Litani River, as required by 2006 UN Resolution 1701, and that either this will be achieved diplomatically or by force. Including the weekend toll, Hezbollah has named 152 members who have been killed by Israel during the border clashes since the start of the war.
In Samaria, an Israeli man was shot and killed in a terrorist shooting, and a female border police woman was killed during an anti-terror operation in Jenin. And AlTV's Steve Leibovich reports.
The victim of the terrorist shooting in Samaria was found mortally wounded in his car on Route 465 between the settlements of Eli and Ofra. Medics declared the victim dead at the scene. In footage, the Israeli Arab civilian victim was seen slumped in the driver's seat of his silver Volkswagen with several bullet holes in the windshield. The apparent drive-by terrorist shooting occurred between Atarot and Route 60, the main north-south artery in an area named for an old British police station from pre-state days. This was the first deadly attack in Judea and Samaria since November, although there have been several attempted attacks with victims wounded. A manhunt is underway for the shooters. The incident follows a deadly clash between security forces and terrorists in the city of Jenin. 4 border police were injured by a roadside bomb detonated during an overnight counter-terror op in the city. One of the wounded border policewomen died of her wounds. Sergeant Shai Girmay, age 19, was in the vehicle hit by the roadside bomb during the raid, along with 3 of her comrades, who were moderately injured. During the extraction of the wounded officers, an attack helicopter carried out an airstrike against a group of Palestinian terrorists, hurling explosives at the troops. 6 terrorists were killed in the airstrike. Since October 7th, troops have arrested more than 2,600 wanted Palestinians across Judea and Samaria, including more than 1,300 affiliated with Hamas. Some 300 Palestinian terrorists have been killed in the territories in that same period.
In the aftermath of the devastating terrorist attack on October 7, the landscape of gun ownership in Israel is undergoing a remarkable transformation, as the country is now witnessing an unprecedented surge in applications for firearm licenses. One compelling symbol of this change is news anchor Lital Shemesh. Shemesh, who herself is a reservist in the Israel Defense Forces, made a bold statement by appearing on air with a pistol visibly strapped to her hip. A viral photo captured her at the anchor desk, sitting on the edge of her seat, the firearm discreetly tucked into the back of her pants. Shemesh's public stance extends beyond television studio. She has been actively sharing images on social media depicting her at a shooting range, reflecting a personal commitment to readiness in these uncertain times. Following October 7, Shemesh spoke passionately about the entire nation mobilizing for a potential incursion into the Gaza Strip, emphasizing the collective effort required to combat terrorism and specifically the threat posed by Hamas.